Okay, welcome everybody. Welcome back to my channel. I don't have a name yet. Right now I'm just going by my name. There is two people involved in this, and we're coming up with a name, so bear with us. This is my second video, and welcome back. For those of y'all who witnessed the first experimental horrible video that I did. I'm still working on lighting, microphone, but I got all that coming. But I'm doing this on an extreme low budget. I'm not trying to do anything scientific. I'm not doing this for money. I believe to be part of my hobby. I mean, I already have a lot of hobbies, and I've kind of wanted to do this for a long time. I'm not shy, but I'm not trying to be famous. I just want people to know, and it's amazing what people don't know. So let's get started. This video today is how to be a comic book guy, pro / girl. Anybody can get started in this, and it's pretty simple. I'm going to start with the basics, and we're going to go from there. So, I mean, of course, you need your comic. Then you got to protect your comic. Now, if you just want to read them and you don't care about them, sure, that's it. Just buy the comics and you're ready to go. But for those people that, they see that as an investment or they want to hold on to that comic for a long time, you got to buy the right supplies that go with it. So first off, you need to buy Mylars, or I just call them bags. And you buy them at comic book shops. You can get them online. They range from $5 for 100 bags to I've seen the most expensive for like 10 for 100. And they do vary in types of bags. This is just a regular type. Some protect from UV rays, so they don't, start to orange over the years from the sun. Another thing, second thing you'll have to buy is backboards for the comics. You also, in those bags, you'll put these, and I can show an example. I mean, it's pretty plain and simple. There's no example, but water backboards you get probably 100, I think, and it's around $7.99 to $10.99 is kind of the going price. And I'm here in Houston, that's the price here. But Amazon's kind of nationwide, worldwide. So I mean, the prices are out there. You can get it for cheaper. I just picked mine up in my local LCS, my local comic book shop. Not only to support the comic book shop and keep them going, but I prefer buying things in person. The third most important thing I would say is your comic book box. This is a regular box. This box usually it's just cardboard. It's $5 is the regular price. You can get character boxes where they're painted. It's just a regular box. I have nice boxes. I have cheap as you go. This is a short box. I think it holds 500 comics, and they have long boxes, which I prefer, and they're about that big, and they hold double. I'm not sure on the count. These are 5, and the long boxes usually go for like 7. So honestly, the long boxes are kind of a better deal. And right now in the comic book world, since this hobby is popping right now and a lot of people are into it, it's a little harder to find supplies, but just wait. Comic shops get them quite frequently, weekly, I think so. There's just a lot of people into them. You used to be able to get boxes in stores, and they used to have like hundreds of them. Now it's usually like they might have like 10. And my LCS is a pretty big comic shop. The third thing I suggest is some sort of checklist, a checkbook, something where you can keep track of what you're buying. They have apps where you can log in every comic that you buy. I personally do this. I'm a little more old-fashioned, and I kind of just make issues 1 through 300, and I make little check marks in the ones that I have, and the ones that I need. And I'll tell you why this is important. I buy a lot of comics, and comics are cool. They have millions of different artists that are into this hobby. But there's a lot of different versions of covers out there. And we're going to get into that a little bit later. But a lot of this is the art, And my problem is I'm getting older, and I go to a comic book shop and I'm like, yeah, I want that issue of Wonder Woman. Oh man, I've been wanting that issue for a long time. And I get home and I've already bought that issue, but not once, but twice or 3 times. I have one comic where I have like 6 of the same issue, and I didn't plan on buying 6 issues. Some people do that on purpose to sell, or no, mine's just memory, and and coolness, like, oh, I wanted that, and oh, there it is, let me get it, so I would suggest some form of checklist, checkbook. I use these. You can get 3 packs for $1. I mean, it takes a little time to just write down numbers. I mean, it's nothing at all. The reason I don't do the apps, for one, the apps aren't forever. If we lived in that digital age where apps were continually forever, I would do that. The problem is most apps are like 1 to 5 years. You might start this project. I have a huge comic book collection right now. It's not massive, massive, but it's pretty big. And for me to start that every time I get on a new app, that's kind of ridiculous. I mean, I got paper and pen. I mean, these fit in my pocket. I mean, it's almost wallet size with both of these. These, right now, this is kind of all DC, and this is Marvel, Image, Dark Horse, Indies. 2 books. Fits like a wallet. Okay, so you got the supplies, and I told you I'd show you an example, but don't really need to put the backboard comic. And it's sleeved, one side higher, fits in there, and it slides in there. I use 1 piece of tape. A lot of people will use 2 piece. I like the 1 piece. Painter's tape is great because you can keep redoing it. I don't reopen my comics enough to be using painter's tape. Usually it's a one-time open and that's it, unless maybe I'm showing something off. But most of my comics, they go in this and they stay in this for life. A lot of people are worried about UV. If you use these and you keep them in your closet away from sunlight and away from a lot of UV, you don't have to worry about that. I have comics that are 30 years old and they don't have that UV scarring that happens with the yellowing of the paper. Tips and tricks. All my comics they're in a dark room. It's you want to keep them away from moisture. They're books. Let's put that one back there. But that's just tips and tricks on helping you keep your comics, going for life. So let's go into different types of comics. Now, this is your standard issue of comic. Actually, this is a variant cover of this issue. You have regular comics that come out, and I don't have a regular cover of this. But you have regular covers, and they're called, they're usually titled cover A, and then they might come out with different variations where they allowed a different artist to come on and do their take of the story or the event that's going on. This is all number 1 of the same comic, DC's Dark Knight's Death Metal, and this is issue number 1. And these are all just different variants of that same cover, and why the black and white, why this black. You might get this in case you run into the artist, and the artist will draw his own personal sketch on here. And yes, they do that. So, I mean, that's why you pick up the blank covers, especially if you know one day you might run into these people. It's something extra cool, and the artists actually love when fans bring these. You think that they're ready to draw on these. They will take the time and draw you something extra special. So that's kind of nice. So you have regular covers and you have variant covers. Then you have ratio covers. And the best way to explain a ratio cover is a ratio cover might be a 1 in 10. So a 1 in 10, what that is at your local comic book shop, say this was a 1 in 10. Your comic book shop would have to buy 10 of these, and on the 10th purchase, like the 11th comic, they'd get a special cover where they had to order those 10 comics to get this. 1 in 10 is very small. That's kind of an average comic book place. But say this was a 1 in 50. That comic book place would have to order 50 of the same comic, same cover, to get that special cover. Now, variants, they're usually $1 more. This, usually right here, it shows the price. This one was $4.99. So the regular comic would have been $3.99. Marvel and DC kind of do the same thing. Some of the indie titles, their variants are the same price as the Scout. I think AWA, Dark Horse, I think all their variants are the same price. Now ratios are different because you had to buy 10, that comic book shop had to pick up 10 covers of that comic. So it's literally going to be the cost of 10 of these to get that Ratio comic. It would be like $24 for that one issue. And Ratio comics are good if you're trying to flip. And you got to flip fast. I mean, that week, the next week, maybe. Because the problem with Ratios is this was one comic, and they came out with like 30 different covers for this comic, and I think I picked up like 6. I went nuts on this series. But they came out with like 30 different covers, and then the Ratio covers as well. So the Ratio covers, the problem with them is they're hot items for that moment because they're what fans wanted, and usually they only get like 1 or 2 at your comic book shop. My comic book shop usually might have like 2 or 3. It's a bigger comic book shop, so you have a higher chance of getting the Ratios, but they're cost worthy. I mean, I think the most expensive Ratio this week was a $60 comic for one comic. Like one comic was $60, brand new that day. The same comic that I was buying for $4.99, one of those guys was spending $60 on one issue. Now with Ratio covers, they will sell online for usually double the value because they're that hard to get. And they're hot. I mean, they're usually beautiful covers. And the problem is, it's just a cover. Same comic that's inside. The next week, that cover is not going to be so wanted because guess what? There's a million other covers that are coming out next week. And there's a lot of hot ones that are going to be in there. So I kind of stay away from Ratio. Plus, Ratio gets expensive. One comic for $30 or $60 when I picked up 7 comics for the same price. Or, 30 comics for the same price. Okay, so those are regular issues and variant issues. Then you have what we call graphic novels, and this is a graphic novel. It's a lot thicker book. It's a book. I mean, it has a spine, But this is the reason it's a graphic novel is because this is like a one-off story. It's its own comic book. This is my bookmark. It's its own comic book inside. But they have 2 versions of it. They have this, and they have what we call a trade paperback. And a trade paperback is collected issues. Like this is issues like Flash, 3031 and Batman 3031. No, I don't know the number. I'm not quoting anything. Don't quote me. But it's a collected set of issues. If you could buy these in single form. Okay, so the graphic novel is sold specifically like this. It's not a collection of volume. It's just one volume by itself. Now that's where comic book collecting becomes kind of interesting, because these are not as expensive as regular comics. This is probably like 5 comics put together this size. This one is not. Trade paperbacks usually are. It's like it might be 7 issues or 8 issues. They also have omnibuses. Omnibuses are collected, it's a whole volume of that Batman or Flash or... Okay, so the reason why this is kind of where... And this was Batman 2122 and Flash 2122. So it was 4 issues that make up this trade paperback. The reason why this gets interesting is because if you just want to be a comic reader and you don't care about the collecting side, this is the avenue to go. Not the graphic novel, but more the trade paperback. Because you could buy this, and I think this brand new was $20. It's not really worth anything. This one is a little bit because, some of them are a little hard to get. This one came with like a nice, 3D cover. But if you wanted to read, sets and just read those storylines, trade paperback is kind of where to go. Because like here in Houston, we have Half Price Books. I can go to Half Price Books and I can get this book for like 5-6 books, half off whatever the regular cover was. And sometimes they'll have sales where they're even cheaper than that. You can get trade paperbacks online. There's online stores that specifically work and only trade paperbacks. So if you just wanted to be a comic reader to get it from... you saw Sweet Tooth, the show or the movie or whatever it's going to be, and you wanted to actually read the original story where it started from, instead of buying that $100 number 1 issue and go from there, you could always just buy a trade paperback. And they do have comic book people that are just, they only collect trade paperbacks because there's a collection, of just this. I tend to do it when the comic books are a little harder to get. You know, I mean, if you bought these issues, they'd probably be 10 or 15 bucks a piece, and I think I might have picked that up at a sale. I might have got it at half price. Um, Graphic novels, it's the same thing. You can get like half off. My suggestion would just be wait. You know, you don't have to. It's like a book. You don't have to get it right when it drops. You buy a book brand new. It's going to cost you 30 bucks. You wait a week or two when it's not on that New York seller hot list anymore. It goes down. Um, my last tip in this avenue would be to really know where to shop for comic books. If you're going to be that guy that wants to shop for comic books like this, and you have single issues, and you want to go out and buy these comic books, find your local comic book store. You know, how far is it away from you? Is it something you can get to reliable? Is this going to be like a weekend thing? Are you going to pick up comic books? Because comic books are released every Tuesday and Wednesday. Tuesday for DC currently, and Marvel and everything else is on Wednesday. My local comic book shop on Tuesdays and Wednesdays opens up at 2 at 10 a.m. Sorry, not 2. That's late. Um, and it's kind of first come first serve, and that's kind of how comic books work. You know, when this comic book came out, you know, on it dropped on that Wednesday, and I think it was like 3 weeks ago or maybe a month ago. But when this dropped, like a month ago, you know, I was in line at the store. Now they also have subscription boxes. You can go to your local comic book shop, and you can set up a subscription box. And what a subscription box is basically, you know, hey, I'm a customer. I want, you know, aliens. I want this death metal, and I want Batman in my subscription box every week. And what they'll do is that every week that those issues come out, they'll take those books and they'll set them aside and put them in your box. And when you come in, you tell them your box number, and they have your issues waiting. I'm not a big fan of the box, and that's a whole nother topic. I do have a box, but I'm not a big fan of them. I like going to get them in person. Not only do I like supporting my local comic book shop, but I also like interacting with people and, you know, seeing what they have, because even though you might have that subscription box, um, you know, they're only going to give you one cover unless you specifically ask for a cover, and sometimes that's not even an option, because that comic store might not have that cover, or they might only get a certain amount, and it's a matter of fairness for everybody else. Um, but this is kind of like your tips and guides on how to be a comic book. You need the supplies, and the supplies are not expensive. You know, 100 bags and books, they're going to last you a little bit. There's also another tip. Here in Houston, almost every one of my comic book shops, and there's quite a bit of them, every one of them at the counter, if you ask them, they sell single bags and boards. At my place, they're usually like 20 cents a piece. So, I mean, I do run out of them every now and then. I'll be like, hey, add me 6 bags and boards, and they'll just add it onto your receipt. I mean, 20 cents times $1, you know, it's not that expensive if you want to go that route, you know. So you can always ask that. Now, at some other places, antique stores, flea markets, garage sales, they're not going to have bags and boards. They're gonna have the comics as is, and that's it. Um, but those are little tips and tricks, things to get you going. I want to make a lot more videos. This is going to be a building project of mine, something I want to continue on. I don't plan on it being like some million kind of subscriber thing or anything, you know. But if you did watch my video, thanks. You know, tell me what you thought. What I need to improve about the channel, you know, the lighting, you know, me looking at y'all, you know. Like I said, this is growing. It's a kind of pet project. I want to start at the basics and grow from there. I'm going to do my comic book pickups that I did this week and my reviews kind of at the same time. I'm not necessarily going to do a top 10. I might do like a top 2, maybe my 2 favorite of that week. Because I do read a lot of different titles that I haven't even heard other people reviewing right now. So stay tuned, and thanks for watching, and hope you have a great day.